So I was actually working at a local bank here in Henderson, and I don't know, one day I woke up and it was like apply for a habitat house, right? So I went to work, and Brittany, the executive director, she actually came into the bank that day, and I started asking her questions. And at that time, she was like, well, we're about to roll out our applications, and the bank I worked at housed those applications. And so she said, I'll be sure to get one whenever the applications. And so after that, I applied. And that's how we started the process. I think for anyone who wants to become a homeowner, it's challenging. I think the big thing was, what if I don't qualify? What if I don't get a house? And so I think that was always the biggest question. And you have faith. I'm very spiritual, so I have a lot of faith in God, and you just move forward. And it was either going to be yes or no. No, then something bigger. And if yes, then I knew that this is what God had wanted me to have. So, being able to pick the color of the house, very different. And I think that just being able to just like pick out your wall colors, and it's different, so that was the exciting part. So they actually love it. I don't think they ever think we're ever going to leave, So where my house is built, it sits behind a creek. So we have a wooded area. We have a really huge backyard. So we get to see all the deer. We had wild turkeys last year that we seen. So they get to enjoy it. They get to go out. We have the apple tree back there too, so the apples grow. We get to watch the deer eat those apples. So there's just like a very wild life out there, and they enjoy it. It's quiet, it's peaceful, and just being able to like go out back and just sit and just see like how beautiful it is in the backyard. So I think a lot of people, it's that what if. And you just have to do it. You have to take a chance and go for it. I'm very goal-oriented, so I had lived at the shelter a few years ago, but one of my goals that I wrote down was to be a homeowner by the time I was 30. And I accomplished that goal a year before I was 30. So set the goal. If that's what you desire, go for it. Yeah, plenty of banks told me no, but then Habitat gave me a yes. And so a lot of say, well, it's not ideal, going, you're a homeowner, right? So sometimes the plan changes, but the goal never changes. So I had to take a different route to be a homeowner, but I accomplished that goal, and I'm a homeowner. As I struggled, life isn't, when you become a homeowner, it's a different world. It's not perfect, but it's what you make of it. And I struggled, and I have struggled, but Brittany and Matt and Crystal, they're good, they're patient, and they understand circumstances. And so I commend them for who they are as a people. And Brittany's very open, just let her know what's going on, and, she'll work with you, so I appreciate their support. It provides what they would call long-term sustainability, so I lived in the shelter, and then I got an apartment in housing. I lived in housing authority for 7 years. But living in housing authority, I was able to, it's affordable, right? And you want to be at a place where I'm a single mom, so paying rent, taking care of 2 kids, working a full-time job, it's a lot, right? And one thing you don't want to have to worry about is keeping a roof over your kid's head, right? And I would have never thought I would be in a women's shelter, but I was. But it was a part of my journey, right? And so getting into housing, it's like you get there and you're like, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to have to experience that. But I think it's also learning how to manage money, how to be consistent, and prioritizing. But affordable housing is so important because no one ever wants to worry about the thought of being homeless and not being able to have a roof over their head or their kids' head. So I think that's why affordable housing is so important. Before I got there, I grew up, my mom raised 7 of us by herself. So we grew up on welfare. We moved a lot. Hotels. We didn't stay in one place for a long time. So 2010, I kind of had to venture out on my own, and I wasn't forced, but I had to end up getting my own place. And I was working 2 jobs, but I was a young mom. I was free. I wanted my life, And so hanging with wrong people, I lost everything. I lost my house, my truck, my jobs, and I ended up moving back in with my mom. This was now in 2011. And I remember living with my mom, and I had my oldest son with me at the time. And I remember just not being okay with my life. I felt like I was repeating my childhood with my son. And so, once again, I woke up, it was like the women's shelter. I knew nothing about the shelter, didn't know anything. And so September of 2011, I went into the women's shelter. And that was the day that changed my life and my son's life. He was 5, Kentrell was 5 at the time. So I went through that, and then I ended up getting put out of the shelter at the end of October. So my sister had to come get me. So then I found myself now without anything, a job, nothing else again, and I had to move in with my sister. And then one day I got a phone call that housing had an apartment available for me. And so November 1st of 2011, that's when I moved into Housing Authority. And I didn't move out of Housing Authority until I moved back in with my mom while they built my house. And that was August of, I don't remember the year. I'm trying to think about 2018, August of 2018, when I moved back in with my mom. It was life-changing to finally be at a place to say, this is home. Not that housing wasn't home, but housing was temporary for us. I wanted it to be temporary for us. And then to finally get keys, the day that I closed, I was like, this is really happening. We're really homeowners, right? Because when I thought about everything I had to go through to get there, it was worth it.